becomes truth when it can give results again and again and again and again. As what Dr. Henneman also had told, that something which is finite and something which is result oriented and which can be reproduced again and again and again, that becomes a reality. So this theory of separation, Maya's creation, what understanding Sir had 10 years or probably 20, 25 years back when he had written this book. Sir did say that, oh, 25 years back I thought theory of separation is done like this, and now I think theory of separation is like this. So whatever is written in that book even holds true today without any changes. So his theories are not changing. Mind you, Sir is evolving, but Sir is not changing. So we pay tribute to Sir. And Sir has done one thing which is very important, is that he has tried to make homeopathy very simple, so that it can be understood by you, be everybody, and we can translate this homeopathy into allopathic terms. We can translate, we can communicate these homeopathic results, we can communicate homeopathic processes to any allopathic doctor in his language. Okay, because back then when we were in college, if somebody asked us what is miasm or what is vital force, then we would just start humming the aphorism or understanding of miasm. Okay, so what was miasm? What was miasm? The cause or the chronic disease. The cause of chronic disease, a fault or a groove. Okay, Sora used to be a hydra-headed monster. Okay, we thought, what is this? We used to think that is it a bad word or something? But now, after knowing theory of separation, after knowing Maya's creation, after undergoing predictive learning, we can state that Sora, psychosis, syphilis is nothing but a defense mechanism. Okay, so Sir has correlated our homeopathy, the old homeopathic terms, with the modern medicine, so that we can understand it better and we can practice in reality. We can practice in today's world. Okay, so going forward with that. Yeah. I would like to take blessings from my Guruji, who has been a very strong force in making me what I am today. He was the one who told me that you should take up homeopathy as a profession, because back then he told me that don't think what is the state of homeopathy today. Think of what it will be after you practice. And his words are very true, because homeopathy has grown multiple folds, and I used to communicate with him also about what Sir used to teach us, and he also used to say that Sir's understanding of homeopathy is quite different and is quite interesting, the way he approaches homeopathy, the way he looks at homeopathy. So when I communicated about Sir's news of Sir's passing away, even he was very shocked, and he was like that not only homeopathic world but medical fraternity has lost an important person. So that were his words. So taking blessings from him, we would like to start from the session where we have stopped. Yeah. So in last session, Dr. Vinay had explained to us the understanding of embryology. He had explained to us the evolution of three germinal layers. Okay, so that is how he had come to a derivation. So now we will start with the chapter 4 of theory of separation. So embryological basis of 7 layers of separation. Okay, so the layers of separation what we have, okay, what Sir has given to us has an embryological base. It's not just like that. Okay, because Sir always says that if there is something which you should know is the embryology. Because if you are treating somebody, if you are treating a patient, you should know how the person is made up of. What is there inside? Sir always used to give this example that if your laptop gets spoiled or if your mobile gets spoiled, if I have an Apple laptop or if I have a Dell laptop or if I have an HP laptop, to which company I will go to? I will go to the same company. I cannot take an Apple laptop to an HP service provider because he will not know what is there inside. So if I am taking my human body to a doctor, I should be going to a doctor who knows what is happening inside me. So if a patient is sitting in front of you, you should know what is he going through. So you should know first of all how is he made up of. Okay, you should know what are the organs inside him. Those organs are developed from which cells. You should know each and everything in detail, and that is how you will be able to treat him. Because sir always says that a symptom disappeared is not a symptom cured. Okay, if you give medicine to a patient, if the symptom disappears, it is not. It does not mean that it is cured, because it will reappear in other symptom in another system. You just have to see in which system does that symptom reappears. If it is appearing in a lesser important system, then it is good. Then it is proceeding towards cure. If it is appearing in a higher organ, if it is appearing in a more important organ, then it is going towards suppression. But how you will decide whether it is higher or lower? How will you decide whether which organ is important, more important, less important? So for this understanding, we need to know embryology. So here, embryological basis of 7 layers of separation. Human beings have essentially 7 layers of separation denoted in the chart in order of importance from down upwards based on embryological origin from skin to nervous tissue. Just yeah. So this is the chart of separation which we are talking about. Skin, which comes from the ectoderm, then is the endoderm, then is the connective tissue. Just note it down right now. I will come into the details of it, how these systems and how these organs are developed. Ectoderm, endoderm, mesoderm, organs of mesoderm, then we have endocrine, then we have neural plate, and then we have changes in the genetic code. So this is the layer of, this is the chart of separation. This is the chart of 7 layers of separation. Okay, so now let us understand how we have derived that this is how it should go in order. Okay, because order is given according to the order of importance. Which organ is more important and which organ is less important. Okay. Okay, so here let us understand how this all the germinal layers. First of all, these are called as germinal layers. Okay, germ layers, GERM. Germ means not that germs or bacteria or something, but germ means germination. Germination is a process. Okay, what do you mean by germination? Germination means it gives rise to, from where it is growing. Okay, a seed germinates into a plant, a seed germinates into a tree. Okay, so that seed has all the information of how the tree is going to be, but gradually how it germinates is that process. Okay, so process of development. So like human egg, like that of any chordate egg, differentiates into various organs and systems. Before it differentiates into various organs and systems, it gives rise to 3 main germinal layers. 3 germinal layers, which are ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm. 3 main germinal layers. Okay, so for understanding of uh, the understanding of these germ layers would be very easy and very important. या तो कोई ये भी चलेगा ये layer. Okay, so how do you understand what is ectoderm? Ecto is, as the word goes, okay, ecto is outside, endo is inside, and mesoderm is in between, the middle germ layer. Okay, so sir has explained to us in a very simple manner. Try to imagine this human being, a human individual. If you elongate a human individual, if you just stretch the individual, okay, understand that human individual is a tube. Okay, understand that human individual is like a tube, like a structure. Okay, and you keep on extending, you keep on enlarging that a human body. Okay, so if this is a human body, okay, you keep on enlarging, it becomes like this tube. Okay, it becomes like this tube. So we have to see, okay, so it's like a tubular structure. Okay, it is like a tubular structure. This is a human body. This is mouth and this is the rear end. This is the proximal end, this is the topmost part and this is the lowermost part. Okay, so this is a tube. Now you try to correlate the organs in this tube. Okay, so first the outer part which is there. Where is this outer part connected to with the atmosphere? Is it connected to the atmosphere from inside or outside? From where it is connected? From outside. Okay, so if this is a tube, okay, this tube is connected, the outer part of this tube is connected to the world or to the atmosphere, to the surrounding from external, from outer side. Okay, so any organ which is connected to the outer side, to the outer atmosphere, to the world externally develops from ectoderm. Okay, so anything which is externally is ectoderm. So now you imagine which structures of the body are connected to the world from outside. Outside means what? Air. Okay, so which organs of the body or which part of the body is connected to the air? Huh? Skin. Very good. So where the air can touch your body. Just imagine that. If you are standing in a breezy atmosphere, the air touches which part of your body? The air, the air will touch the skin first, then, bolo, the air will touch which part of the body? Skin body. Only skin, not hair. Okay, hair, teeth, lips, eyes, nails. Okay, so everything which is connected to the outer world from externally, this is coming from ectoderm. See, it gives rise to all the organs which are in connection or exposed to the external environment. It forms the outer surface of a tube-shaped man. Okay, if you make a man and if you stretch that man is like this. And this is the outermost tube. Are you understanding? Now, if you take a paper, okay, now understand. Okay, there is an outer tube, there is an inner tube also. So there are two tubes. One is the outer tube, one is the inner tube also, which is going from the first end to the second. Now this tube also is connected to the outer world. But from where it is connected to the outer world? From inside. Okay, if I open this cap, okay, if I open this cap, will this, the plastic of the bottle will be connected to the outer world from outside or the inside or inside? If I pour the water in this bottle, it will touch the inner surface of the bottle, not the outer surface. Are you understanding? So if you drink water, which all parts of the body it will touch? It will touch the interior of the tube-like structure of a person. Okay, so if there is an internal tube, if water is poured into this tube, it will touch all the internal surface. Okay, so this tube is coming from endoderm. Are you understanding? So endoderm forms the internal lining of the body. All the internal organs, majorly the respiratory organ, the gastrointestinal tube lining, the urinary tract lining, all the linings of these organs are coming from endoderm because it is connected to the outer world but from inside and not outside. Are you understanding? So if this is a tube and this is this is a paper which is ectoderm. Okay, this is like ectoderm. So there is a space between the ectoderm and the endoderm. Okay, there are two tubes, right? One is external tube, or what that in that tube there is another tube which is endoderm. So the space in between endoderm and ectoderm, in that space what comes? In that space what comes? Imagine a person. Okay, you have stretched the human being. The outer part is the skin. The inner lining stretches from mouth to the anal orifice. Okay, if you have stretched all the intestine from mouth and anus, so all the intestines are there from mouth to anus. The all intestine, small intestine, large intestine, everything is stretched and make like a tube. Okay, so there is one tube which is inside, there is one structure which is outside, but there is something which is there in between these two structures. So what is present in between these two structures?
Yeah, organs.
Organs, exactly. Okay, what else apart from organs?
Muscles.
Muscles, what else? Bones, what else?
Lymph nodes.
Exactly. So all organs. Okay, in between your GIT lining and the ectoderm, there are organs, muscles, bones. Okay, so all these things comes from mesoderm. So the mesodermal derivatives gives rise to the viscera or parenchyma of viscera. That is lungs, heart, kidney. So all these organs develop from mesoderm. Okay, and mesoderm also differentiates into mesenchyme and mesothelium. Okay, so understand, ectoderm forms the outer part, endoderm forms the inner part, and mesoderm will form the organs in between of these two areas. Are you understanding? Is it understood by everybody? Okay, read this again and again and try to have an imaginary picture of a tube-like structure. Okay. Yeah, so man develops from three germinal layers. One is ectoderm, one is endoderm, and one is mesoderm. Now from ectoderm, one more organ is derived, or one more germinal layer is derived, which is neuroectoderm, which is a specialized cell. Okay, which is a specialized germinal layer from which nerve cells are developed. Okay, so ectoderm develops itself into neuroectoderm, which develops the nervous organs of the body. Then you have endoderm, and then you have mesoderm. Yeah, so now imagine the tube. Man develops into a double tube-like structure. So the is outer tube is ectoderm, the tube which is in contact with the world from outside. Endoderm, which forms a tube inside, which is connected to the world from inside, the internal linings, not outside but the internal linings. Then you have mesoderm forming the viscera in the space between the tubes. So this space which is there in the tubes, there the organs are formed. Okay. I hope now it is clear after understanding this structure. Is it clear? Okay, next. So, yeah. So the mesoderm will give rise to viscera or parenchyma of viscera, which is lungs, heart, kidney, etc. And these are organs. These are organs arising out of mesothelium of mesoderm. So in mesoderm there are two things. One is mesothelium, from which the organs are developed, and another thing which will connect these organs to the other parts of the body. These are called connective tissues. Okay, this connective tissue will come from mesenchyme. So all the tissues which connect these organs to the other parts of the body will come from mesenchyme. Okay, so let us read this. Connective tissue. Apparently, there exists no connection between endoderm derivatives and mesoderm derivatives. This connection is established by tissues arising out of mesenchyme of mesoderm. These tissues are called as connective tissues. Connective tissues include blood, lymph, bone, cartilage, muscle, dermis, and fascia, and covering of the organs. Understand this. This is something which connects the organ to the other endodermal derivatives. So these connecting organs are called as connective tissue and they arise out of mesenchyme, which is a part of mesoderm. Okay, so all now your one organ is connected to the other organ by what? It is connected by blood. First of all, because blood flows everywhere, blood flows through all the organs of the body. Okay, so message of brain is reached to pancreas or is reached to liver by what? By neurotransmitters. But the neurotransmitters will be secreted in the blood, and blood will carry those neurotransmitters to the other part. Okay, so these are messengers. Okay, these are connecting organs. Okay, these are like wires which will transmit the signal from one place to the other. These are the connectors. Okay, you have your connector in the laptop, no? You have to connect your laptop to the external display. You have to connect your laptop to the projector. So these are like connectors. Projector is one organ, laptop is another organ. But how will it get connected if the connector is missing? So that connector part is coming out of mesenchyme. Okay, is coming out of mesenchyme of mesoderm. Okay, and these tissues are called as connective tissues. So all the connective tissues of the body, blood, lymph, bone, cartilage, muscle, dermis, fascia, and covering of the organ. Covering means pericardium, pleura, everything will come from the mesenchyme. Everything will come from connective tissue. Okay, so we have understood two layers or rather three layers. Ectoderm, which is the outermost part, endoderm, which is the innermost part. Then we have organs arising out of mesothelium, like solid organs, viscera or parenchyma, like heart, lungs, or kidneys. Then we have connective tissues, which will connect these organs to the endodermal derivatives, which is mesenchyme, which is blood, bone. Then we have lymph, cartilages, muscles, dermis. Okay, so all the organs, facial and coverings of the organ. So all these things constitute a human individual. Still more further, we have neuroendocrinal glands. Okay, see why we are learning this so that we can understand the importance. Okay, so you have right now known the structure of the person. That outside it is the skin, the innermost is the tube, and in between this is the viscera or visceral organs. Okay, now at the level of importance. Okay, see, sir always understood a human person like a fortress. Fortress means killa. Okay, like a fort. So where does the king or the emperor stay? Does he stay at the gates? Will he stay near the gates, near the boundary, or will he stay in the innermost part of the fort? He will stay in the innermost part of the fort. Why?
To see, to have a watch all over.
Not to have a watch. If he wants to have a watch, then he will have to stay outside. If the king wants to have a watch, he will stay on the outside near the gate. Why is he there in the innermost chamber or innermost protected chamber of the fort?
To handle everything.
No.
Inside.
No, not to handle everything, but to be safe and secured. Because he is the most important person of that entire state. Who he will keep outside? He will keep guards. Okay, will he keep his most important guards outside? No, he will not keep his most important guards outside. He will keep most important guards with himself so that they can protect him. Okay, when you play chess, okay, what is the first line which you keep? Which is ready to face the opposite party or which is ready to face your opponent? Okay, small guards. Okay, so let us say small guards. Those are called as pawns, but let us say small guards. Okay, because if they die or if they are conquered, it is okay. The second layer is of all the important organs or all the important people in the chess or all the important structures in the chess. Are you understanding? So the level of importance will decide your placement, and vice versa, the placement will decide whether that organ is important or not. Are you understanding? In your house, will you keep your gold and ornament and silver and diamond necklace all outside the house? Will you keep it outside? No. Where you will keep it? In your safe, in room, in your that almirah, and inside the almirah there will be a secret door which will be kept to keep all those ornaments inside. What you will keep outside? Outside will be your door, outside will be your dustbin, outside will be garden, or outside will be plants. Okay, outside will be shoe rack. Why? Because if any damage will happen to that, it will not cause much damage to us or to the house. So whatever is there outside is of least importance, and whatever is there in the innermost part of the body is of most importance. Are you understanding? So the skin is outermost, it is connected to the atmosphere from outside world, because our body is designed in that way that the skin is developed to take the brunt of the outside atmosphere. Okay, outside, the attack of outside atmosphere, if the atmosphere will attack you, the skin will take the beating first. Skin is like a shock absorber. Okay, so that should not hamper anything inside. Okay, that attack should not damage any organ internally. That is why the skin is given for protection. Okay, so skin becomes the least important part of the body. Body knows that if something will happen to the skin, it is okay. Are you understanding? वो चलेगा अपने को. It will be okay for once, but nothing should happen to the organs which are there inside. Okay, so that becomes our first layer of defense. That becomes our initial, the basic layer of defense, which is the skin, which is an ectodermal derivative. Then comes the derivative which is connected to the world from inside. Okay, if you eat something and that has bacteria or that has viruses or that has something which can cause disturbance, it will cause disturbance to the endoderm. Okay, but it will not cause disturbance to the viscera, because viscera are not connected only to the atmosphere. Okay, so there is no chance of the atmosphere to attack the viscera directly. Something can attack the body directly by outside or by inside. So the second layer of defense becomes your endoderm. Why? Because it is connected to the outside world from inside. Okay, so second layer becomes endodermal derivative. So whatever you have derived from endoderm, that comes your second layer. I'm talking about the chart of separation. Okay, the first layer, then the second layer, then you have third layer. Okay, now third layer में क्या बचा? What we have? We have mesoderm. Okay, but mesoderm has two derivatives. One is mesenchymal and one is mesothelium. Okay, so first, the third layer will be of this connective tissue, which is arising out of mesenchyme, means blood, lymph, bones, cartilages, etc. And then you have mesothelium of mesoderm, which is organs. Okay, so see, why there is covering of the organ? Huh? To protect, exactly. So that covering becomes more important or the organ becomes more important? Organ becomes more important. Okay, so the third layer is given to the covering. Okay, in chart of suppression, the third layer is given to the covering, and fourth layer is given to the organs which are being covered by this covering. Okay, so mesoderm 3A and 3B, we divide into two parts. 3A becomes your covering, and 3B becomes the organs which are covered by these connective tissues, which is heart, lungs, kidney. Okay, then you go to a more deeper organ. The neuroendocrinal glands are externally Yeah, sorry for the lag. Okay, so we have derived three layers. We have derived the importance of three layers. So how many layers we have known up till now? Four. Okay. First is ecto, second is endo, third is mesoderm but connective tissues, fourth is mesoderm but organs. So now this fifth layer becomes the neuroendocrinal glands, which are either see they can be derived or the cells of the neuroendocrinal gland can be of ectoderm, endoderm, or mesoderm. So the secretory part, the functional part of it, are of neural crest in origin or neuroectodermal in origin. So they have a specialized cells within themselves. So some of these cells are found scattered in various tissues of the body, like lungs or intestines, secreting neurotransmitters. Thus, all these which perform the function of secreting neurotransmitter or hormones, whether in endocrinal gland or elsewhere, are grouped together and are called as APUD, which is amine precursor uptake decarboxylate system layer. Okay, so all our endocrinal glands will come under APUD system. So this becomes our fifth layer of importance. Okay, because these are very important because it has neuroendocrinal cells also, and these are derivative of endo, ecto, or mesoderm. Okay, so this becomes more important than even mesodermal organs. Okay, because they have neuroendocrinal layer as well. Okay, whether it is central or peripheral, and the brain are derived from the neuroectodome, which is a specialized ectodome. Okay, so that then becomes a then we have a sixth layer, which is the nervous in origin. So the cells which are there, the cells of CNS or the cells of peripheral nervous system are derived from ectodome. Okay, but they are a specialized part of the cell, specialized form of the cell. Okay, and that is why we have given importance to the sixth layer because it is the brain tissue, and we know the brain is of prime importance. So always gives this example that when a person dies, okay, earlier they used to check by taking out a ECG, okay, whether the heart is functioning or not. But then gradually they realized that even if the heart fails, the brain keeps on working for some period of time and then it gets shut. Okay, so now if you want to declare a person dead, they will do a EEG and not ECG. Okay, if EEG has a flat line and if EEG does not show any electrical activity in the brain, then they declare a person that he is dead. Okay, so brain becomes more important even than the heart. Okay, because as a person dies, the heart might stop, but the brain will keep on working. Okay, because there is a chance that the heart can be revived back. Okay, so that window period is given by the body to revive the heart. Okay, if the heart is revived, the brain still is functional. And then if nothing is done, if nothing is possible, then the brain gradually dies. Okay, so here that is why the brain, the CNS is given the brain and its derivatives are given more important. We have termed it in the sixth layer. Okay, there is one layer which is above all, which is the mind. And mind does not mean emotions. Here, mind does not mean emotions, which is the seventh layer. Okay, mind means the mind of each and every cell. Okay, every cell has a mind of its own, every cell has a program of its own, which is given by how a cell's activity is judged by. How will the cell decide whether what I have to do and what I have not to do? Genes, exactly. So that the derivation of activities of that cell is given by DNA. Okay, so mind of the cell means the genetic makeup of the cell, which is the ultimate importance. So the disease will travel from first layer to the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. So the moment it reaches the seventh layer, there is complete chaos in the body because the genetic code is altered. Are you understanding? So that is why the genetic code is given prime importance because that is the powerhouse or that is the house where the decision of the control of the entire body is given. Because in that genetic code, when it is deciphered by the body, which amino acids are being produced, which proteins are being synthesized, all of that is given by the genetic code. All that information is given in the genetic code. Okay, so that is like the king of the fort, which is kept in the deepest layer of the body. Okay, see how small is the genetic code. Okay, understand how small is the genetic code, and it's so important that it is given in each and every cell, so that the cells can function in harmonious manner. Okay, so if genetic code is disturbed, then what kind of diseases we have? We have genetic mutations, we have cancers. Okay, what is cancer? Cancer is just rampant growth of the cell, uncontrolled growth of a cell. Okay, so what makes it uncontrolled is this mutation. Okay, so here if you have a patient of cancer, just don't treat the cancer cells. Treat why that mutation is coming in the patient. What is stimulating that cell to create this mutation? Okay, so if you want to reverse that mutation, you have to reverse the cause which is causing this mutation, the ailment which has caused this mutation. Okay, and that can be done by our homeopathic medicine if we pick up that. And sir, in his latest practice, he used to understand what is giving this switch on to this mutation. And unless and until we used to switch it off with our medicine, the mutation will never be resolved. You try to cut it, it will grow. You try to hamper it by radiation, it will grow. You try to give it chemotherapy, it will grow. Okay, because you are trying to treat the effect and not the cause. You are trying to treat the disease but not the man. Okay, and sir always says, in predictive always say, treat the man in disease and not disease in man. Okay, so we'll go ahead with this. So the development of embryo is just like development of a city. The city grows in all directions. During the growth, the building material and maintaining materials is brought from the most important marketplace or source to the lesser important or peripheral places. Similarly, as the embryo grows, the nutrition is supplied from the first formed organ, which acts as a chief source. Okay, so here, see, here we are going to understand a very important part. Okay, very important part of predictive, very important part of homeopathy. That how the body will decide whether which organ is first and which organ is second. Okay, so that is why sir has correlated the development of an embryo to development of a state or development of a city. So first, all the raw material is brought to an important place in the city, and from there it is distributed everywhere else. Okay, so here the first to form is the procaudal plate, which represents the head part. Yes. Yeah. So development of an embryo, the first to form is this procaudal plate. Okay. Why this procaudal plate is developed? Why does the procaudal plate develop? So that we can understand where is the head part of the body. Okay. If this is the embryo, okay. If this is the procaudal plate, which you can see the color, so I will understand this is the head part. Okay, head decide हो गया तो क्या decide होगा? If head is decided, then if the uppermost part is decided, what will be decided by default? The lower part, because lower part has to be exactly opposite to it. Are you understanding? अगर head इधर है तो पैर नीचे ही होना चाहिए ना, पैर side में नहीं हो सकता. If head is here, the legs, the lower part have to be in the same line but in the opposite extent. Yes. Then you see. Yeah. So the next to develop, next. Yeah. This forms the head part. We also have a central axis which develops. Okay. Central axis develop. If the central axis is developed, then what do we understand? Two parts. Okay. So one is right and one is left. Okay. If there is a central axis, you know that one is left and one is right. If there is a head part, you know that this is head and the opposite of head is going to be the tail. So why head develops first? Because body wants to indicate, body wants to give a sign to the incoming nutrition, that the nutrition should reach here first, because this is the most important thing. Okay, are you understanding? The most important thing will be developed first. So all the nutrition from everywhere will go into the head part, and from there it will be going to the other parts of the body. Because from here the controllers of the body will come. Okay, so that is why head develops first. This shows growth axis with apical dominance. Apex. Apical means apex. So apex is most important. Okay, if you see our structure of human body, all the organs, major organs of the body are from here and here. Rest is just the legs. Okay, if you see the structure of human body, the torso part, the head and the torso covers all the major organs. Okay, rest is just the legs. So in the leg, in the lowermost part, there is no organ as such. Okay, why? Because that is the most important part of the body. Okay, so here this shows presence of growth axis with an apical dominance. Next. Apical dominance means the top part is more important, the head part is more important. Head end, then there is a primitive streak, and then there is a tail end. So as soon as the head end will be decided, opposite to that tail end also will be decided. This shows the existence of a flow of nutrition from head to tail. This axis of nutrition is called as cephalocaudal gradient. Okay, top to bottom gradient. Cephalo means head and caudal means tail. Okay, so this is called cephalocaudal gradient. Why we call as gradient? Because the nutrition will flow. Okay, the growth will flow, the energy will flow from top to bottom. Are you understanding? Next. Development of mesoderm. See, and this is how the procaudal plate. This is the tail end. Now the nutrition will go from the sides. It will grow from the side. This is called as dorsoventral gradient. Okay, so if there is an axis, the nutrition will be supplied like this. Even if you see the development of your ribs, okay, the ribs are developed like this. The nerves, spinal nerves are developed like this. The main part of the spinal nerve is there in the spine. Okay, what do you call it? The body of the spinal nerve. Okay, the ganglions are majorly in the spinal part, and from there the nerves extend to reach up to the organs. Okay, the synapse and everything is majorly associated in the vertebral column. Why vertebral column is given in the center? Why spinal cord is given in the center? It could have been given in the side also, no? Why it is not there in the side? Because of the central axis, which is the most important. Okay, and from there the nutrition which goes from the side. Okay, the nerves also are given in the most important part, the spinal cord, which is a very thin cord. It is given protection of the vertebrae. Okay, it is given in the center, because from there the nerves will emerge and go to the periphery. So central to peripheral. This is called as dorsal to ventral. This is dorsal part. This is ventral part. So from back it will come to front. Okay. Next. So two gradients we got. One is apical dominance wala, which is cephalocaudal gradient. Second is dorsoventral gradient. Okay. See, building material is supplied from the main important part to the different parts of the body. Next. So procaudal plate decides the head end. Upper end of the neural tube forms the brain. The lower part forms the spinal cord. Next. Next. So two gradients, three gradients we have got. Gradient of apical dominance, craniocaudal gradient, proximal distance gradient. From proximal to distal. This is the proximal part and this is the distal part. Okay, shoulder is proximal. Anything which is close to the central body is proximal. Anything which is away from the distal body is distal. Okay, so the fingers are distal and this is proximal. Okay, proximal joint and distal joints. We have seen in anatomy, proximal joint and the distal joint. So, apical dominance, we have craniocaudal gradient, proximal distal gradient. So, all these gradients, okay, why we call as gradient? Because gradient is the word which we use for the distribution of the power, distribution of the nutrition. So, when an embryo is developing, the nutrition will decide where to go from this gradient. Okay, so gradients are channels of following the nutrition. From where the nutrition will be supplied. The nutrition will be supplied on the basis of this gradient. So the gradients are above downwards, from more important organ to less important organ, from center to periphery, from inside to out. Okay, these are the gradients. I am not talking anything about homeopathy. This is just pure and pure embryology. This is pure and pure how the body is made, how the egg is formed, how the fetus is formed. Okay, how the fetus gets the nutrition. Okay, and these have been derived by the scientist, not homeopath. But if you read this, all gradients are above downwards, more important to less important, center to periphery, from inside out. Does it ring a bell in your mind? How does it ring a bell in your mind? Have you heard this somewhere else also? Where have you heard this? Herring's law of cure. Now, how did Herring know that this is all important? Okay, Herring has given this according to his own observation. Okay, we are so blessed to be in predictive and to know that Sir has derived this correlation between these embryological gradients and the Herring's law of cure. That why that Herring's law of cure is very, very, very important. So, as Dr. Henneman had told once that miasm is one of his greatest discovery. Probably we can say that this correlation of Herring's law of cure to embryology is one of the greatest discovery of Dr. Praful Vijayakar. And this forms the basis of all our follow-ups. If it is following our Herring's law of cure, then it is going towards cure. If it is not following, then it is going towards suppression. Okay, so Herring's law also states that from above downwards, more important organ to less important organ, from center to periphery, from inside out. Okay, and in reverse order of appearance of the symptoms. And Sir has added one more thing in this Herring's law of cure is from more destructive miasm to a lesser destructive miasm. That is Sir's addition to the Herring's law of cure. Okay. Open up. Okay. Yeah, so all these directions, the four important directions of cure are more important to less important, above downwards, inside out, center to periphery. Ectoderm being the least important when it forms skin, and most important when it forms brain. So start from ectoderm, go to endoderm, mesoderm, and again end with neuroectoderm. Okay, so the world is round. From where you start, the same place you end with a specialized cell out of the ectoderm itself. So from ectoderm to endoderm to mesoderm to neuroectoderm to ectoderm once again. And this shows complete connection between all tissues from ectoderm back to ectoderm. And that is why whenever the patient is of neurological complaints, for example coma, okay, Sir does not give the medicine orally because oral route is an endodermal route. Sir tries to give medicine by application on skin because skin has a direct lift to neuroectoderm. Why to go by stairs? Use lift. Okay, if you go by endoderm, it will reach gradually. It will be absorbed by the blood. It will go into the bloodstream. Then it will go into the nervous system. But if you apply the medicine to the skin, it will directly go to the neuroectoderm because this is a gateway pass. Okay, this is an expressway from where the medicine will be absorbed by the skin and will be good because it belongs to the same family. Okay. So the least important is skin, epidermis arising from ectoderm. That is at the bottom of the chart, followed by more and more important levels above. Every layer also has some level of importance which are not shown in the chart. For example, respiratory and gastrointestinal tract both are in the same level. But if the complaints are suppressed from respiratory and are expressed in gastrointestinal, that is called as suppression. If cold coryza gets better and patient starts developing loose motion, starts developing severe acidity or heartburn, that is called suppression. Emotional changes are present in all the layers as concomitants. Emotional attitudes, behaviors, anxiety, delusion arise from secretions in the limbic system, which varies with varying biochemical reaction at the hormonal level, at the humoral level, and neuroendocrinal level. Neurotransmitters such as serotonin, norepinephrine, which produces sadness or grief, adrenocorticotropic hormone, which produces fear, enkephalin, endorphin, which produces painlessness, can be secreted or depressed at all the levels in different proportion in different individual, which helps us to individualize. So our nature, our behavior is all because of that small limbic system which is present in our brain. Because that will decide how angry we are, how sad we are, how happy we are, how joyful we are, okay, how indifferent we are. So all these levels of hormones or all these levels of neurotransmitters depend will make our nature, will make our behavior, will is all the basis of how we react to a situation emotionally. And the mind, which is the seventh layer of suppression, mind is actually the is not actually the emotions. As I told you, mind is the mind of the cell, which is the DNA. Okay. Affection of mind means affection of basic cell code. Every cell has genetic code which has two parts. In basic cell code common to all living things. See, and in cell code also, the genetic code, there is two parts. One is the basic cell code, which is there in all living individuals. But there is some inherited cell code. Okay, so the basic cell code will give us the functions of respiration, ingestion, digestion, excretion, defense, reproduction, which is there in each and every living individual. But the inherited code, which is inherited from parents and species, which includes the nature, structure, tolerance, susceptibility, which differs from individual to individual and from species to species. Okay, so this is the seven layers of suppression, starting from skin, ectoderm, endoderm, connective tissue, mesoderm, organs of mesoderm, endocrine, neural plate, and changes in genetic code. And these are the enumeration of some disease which falls into such layers. Okay, so now we have derived how the layers are formed. Okay, and we have derived why that layer is given a specific level of importance. Okay, so in this lecture, what we have studied? We have studied the derivation of ectoderm, endoderm, mesoderm, organs arising out of ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm, and why ectoderm is given first layer, endoderm is given second, mesoderm is given third and fourth, APUD is given fifth, brain is given sixth, and changes in the genetic code, which is mind of the cell, is given the seventh layer of importance. Also, we have studied the correlation of Herring's law of cure with embryology. Then how the nutrition is being derived and how the nutrition is being passed or supplied in the body. That is how the gradients are. That depends upon the gradients which are there in the body, and based on those gradients is our cure also dependent on. Okay, see, and every time when the nutrition is following a route of a gradient, it will be a passive transport. Okay, so if the nutrition is going from mind or from the brain to the other part of the body, it is the passive transport. Okay, but if it is going the reverse manner, if something has to go the reverse way, it will use the energy of the body, which will be an active transport. And if that energy is being used, that energy comes from the ATP of the cell. So if that cell ATP is being used, the cell will not have enough energy to do its normal functioning and the cell will get tired. And that is how disease progresses. So here, why this chart is very important, because anything which has to go from neural plate to ectoderm to mesoderm to connective tissue to endoderm to ectoderm does not require energy. Flowing from top to bottom will not require energy. Okay, but if something is there in the skin, it has to change its layer. It will require energy. So the disease always ascends and the cure always descends. Okay, disease will always have to go from lowermost layer to the uppermost layer, because it will have to go to deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper layers. So it will require energy, and that energy is being brought about from the body itself. From where it will get energy? It will get the energy from the body. Okay, so if the body's energy is consumed by the disease, the body will be deficient in the energy, making itself weaker and weaker and weaker. So that is why in the follow-up, for example, if you are treating eczema, if you are treating rash, if you are treating conjunctivitis, if the conjunctivitis goes away with your medicine, but patient says that now I am feeling so tired, my eyes are better, I am feeling no burning, but I am feeling so exhausted, I don't feel like working, I have no stamina to work, I have no desire to do my day-to-day activity, that is a wrong follow-up. Okay, because you have treated his conjunctivitis, but you have deprived him of his energy. Okay, so the disease has not gone, the disease has partially been suppressed. So that disease will get expressed in the other part of the body. He might develop acidity, he might develop gastritis, and he might develop jaundice, he might develop urinary tract infection. Are you understanding? So, and as opposed to that, whenever you treat urinary tract infection, if the patient says, oh, burning is slightly better, but earlier the weakness which was there, I am feeling more active, I have the desire to work, I have the stamina to work, that is a good follow-up. Be rest assured, the burning will 100% go away. Okay, so Sir has written in his book, desire and stamina to work are the two prime important follow-up criteria. Okay, because if the disease progresses, the desire and stamina will go down, and if the disease regresses or if the disease gets cured, if it goes descends, then the desire, the energy will come back. Okay, so I think we will take a break here. I hope you all have understood, and thank you all for your patient hearing. And if possible, we will meet again in future for the similar lectures. Thank you very much.